So first of all, it looks like almost everyone in the building has been to SCORE, but for those of you, Lee, have you been to SCORE before? Have you been to SCORE before? Okay. Just real quickly, it's a group of retired individuals who are executives and very successful in the fields that they were in, and they volunteer their time. It is a funded program from the SBA, Small Business Administration, and the neat part about it is when you come in and you're seeking advice, it doesn't matter what it is. There's somebody there, either on their staff or a group of 13,000 like individuals throughout their network in the U.S. that will help you and guide you as far as you need to go, as long as you need them. And if let's say, for instance, you came out and you wanted to create a business plan, and then you need to get a loan, well, they would take you through every step of the way. And there's some really neat success stories from them. The best part about this whole process, it's for us as business people to come in for this advice. It's free. So please seek them out. They're here. They're counselors every day. They're a lot of fun. Well, most of them are a lot of fun. And but they're very, very well, they're dedicated to help you. You said something, you said you worked on Sunday, over the weekend, but it wasn't work for you because it's passion. When you get in work with these people, you'll see that it's passion. There's no monetary value for them. They're helping you because they want to be here, and they love sharing that knowledge. So take advantage of it. That's a little bit about SCORE. So today, how many of you actively deal with search engine optimization? Okay, you take care of that. Okay, and I look at it and the rest of you don't. Okay, SEO. For a long time, I guess it was maybe January. There was this hint that SEO was really dead, and it really isn't dead. It's just constantly evolving. So I wanted to say, hey, it's complicated, yet it's brilliantly simple. And for those of you that do SEO, tell me, is there some complicated processes in that? Or could be? What do you think?
I wouldn't say complicated, I would just say that sometimes there are tricks that you learn that really just move you up there.
Okay. Good.
So when you learn those, and if you attend enough meetings and talk to enough people and share your knowledge, people just share, and you're like, oh, I can try that. And it just keeps taking you up there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty complicated.
Can be very complicated,
Yeah. Especially when you look at content marketing. So there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. There's the core discipline, but then there's a lot of pieces that plug into that are just as important. And then the more you learn about it, the more those pieces, there tend to be more pieces that go around that influence what happens on the search engines, and that's basically what we're talking about as far as inbound marketing.
Right. Yes, sir.
Well, about a month ago or so, I heard Google at the beginning of the year or whatever change their algorithms, and so that changes how your search engine searches. And so I was wondering if maybe you could kind of expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, think about
what are algorithms and how does that all play into.
Yeah, what they're trying to do, think about this, is and I have a piece of this that talks about this a little bit, but I want you to think about when it comes to search, it's no different than if I come to you and ask you a question, and you're the person, like what your business is?
ESL teaching.
ESL teaching. So if I come to you and you're a great knowledge base for that, and I ask you a question, you're searching your database, your brain, for the right answer, for the best solution, yes? Well, think about Google or Bing or any of those search engines doing exactly the same thing. So it's a series, I think, of question and answering. So when you're doing this, as an example, let's say, for instance, sometimes, and I'm not getting too far from this, but there's 4 stages of learning. The first thing is I don't even know what I don't know, right? And it's a level they call ignorance. We're just ignorant of that. Not in a negative stance, we just don't know what we don't know. What's that? Absolutely. I don't know what he's talking about, but no, it is. It's like a lot of the surfers I met in Costa Rica. So when you're doing this, the better you get at asking questions, then this relationship becomes more intuitive. So the whole thing about search engines is starting to think like us. Like when you see a certain color or you see a certain phrase or a word, you interpret that. And you're being intuitive of, hey, what do they really mean? Like you might put something in there that makes sense to you, and those search engines have to interpret, what are you really looking for? What do you really mean? And so that's really, in my opinion, that's what evolved from before, where, hey, I could just stuff a bunch of keywords in there and that type of thing, and I'd show up even though my content was irrelevant to your search. Well, it's like this. Holly, if as an example, let's say, for instance, I come to you as you're an expert, and I ask for advice, and I follow your advice to letter, and it results in a negative return. I think, well, I'll come again. And again, it's negative. Now, where's my trust level with Holly?
Zero, I hope.
Yeah, it's gone really down, right? It's like Google Maps when they first came out. Next thing you know, you were in a canal because there was no road there. Now they've become better at that.
But not best.
What's that?
But not best.
Not the best, but they're getting better. So the idea of this is we evolve, the Google search engines evolve, they become better at interpreting your data. And so today we're going to talk about how do we get our data, our content information, how do we get it to a point where, you know what, if you were Google and you see us, because I'm using Google a lot because they are the big dogs in the room. So how do we get to a point where they recognize us, they see us easily and connect us with relevant content? Because what's going to happen is those tricks, if you will, and I don't mean tricks in a negative way, I mean like what we call black hat tricks. When we take something that's really outside the edge of okay, it's like driving 70 when it's 60, you kind of got over the 8 mile okay. They're cracking down on that. They see it. They're smart. There are tons of, and that's where the algorithms come in. And so trickery will get you so far, and then it'll give you what we've called a Google slap. And you don't want to be Google slap, man, it hurts and leaves a really bad mark. So we're going to talk today about how to do it more simple. Because I'm a kid from West Texas, we do everything simple in West Texas.
I
Okay?
did everything big, too.
I know this is going that direction because you just said it, that Google slap.
Yes.
Yeah.
You run these ads, right? These AdWords, and so when you're talking a Google slap, how bad is a Google slap? Is it just like warning your caution, your ad has been disapproved, and this is why? Is that the slap you're talking about? Or
No.
Is that just like a little spank?
Andrew, you're going to jump on that because it could be brutal.
Google Slap is essentially, basically your website disappears
Oh wow, okay.
from search.
Check up.
Yeah, so if you get a Google Slap, they don't tell you, hey, we're going to take your website down on Friday. It's like, we took it down yesterday.
Well, they don't tell you.
and
Alright.
we're actually dealing with a client right now whose graph was, they were traveling at 700 visits a week,
Yeah.
and last week they had 70.
Mm.
So they got slapped big time, and
Yeah.
their organic traffic disappeared, their all sorts of traffic disappeared. And Google do this because they say you've been playing against our rules. You've been doing something we don't like,
Yeah.
and that is often dodgy, what they call black hat SEO, and you may touch on this later today, but black hat SEO is stuff that tries to manipulate the system. Google have a set of rules for everybody, and they say, play by our rules, you'll be fine. If you don't, and you want to try and gain the system,
Yeah.
we'll find you and then we'll slap you.
Yeah.
And we'll tell you after we've slapped you.
Yeah. You don't want that.
You don't want that.
So it's,
trademark, I'm sorry.
that's okay, go ahead.
Trademark, like when you're using a keyword in your title and it does really apply to you, but then does apply to something else, and then
That won't affect Google Slap so much because that's another issue. What Google are looking at is, are you trying to get around our algorithm? We put all these rules and lots of rules
Right.
in place, and you trying to dodge the system, or you're doing something we don't like. And if you don't like it, then bang. If it's a legal thing, that's a different
But
story.
they're just telling you fix your ad because.
In the Webmaster Tools, you'll be able to say, hey, they'll tell you if you've got other functionality problems.
Right.
They'll give you that advice.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to
Sorry.
secretly go around it, they'll
Yeah.
come out with their slap.
Thank you, sorry.
So I want to talk about, what is it, and I say really, like what is SEO? And this is, quite frankly, this is a really good book. It's called Google Semantic Search, and it was written by David Amerlin. And it just came out this year. And I thought this guy did a really nice job of explaining it and stepping you through it. So if you really are saying, hey, I want to dive into this, or I want to at least know what's going on, so when somebody says, hey, I'm an SEO expert, well, what exactly is it? And I don't profess to be an SEO expert. I'm more of a content developer, but I play by these rules that Andrew kind of talked on. And as long as you play by the rules and you do what you need to do, they'll find you. They can't help but find you because they're always looking for the best solution. Okay? Just like if I came to you and you're an expert in your field, I think you're the best resource. Provide me the best solution, and I'm going to keep coming back to you. Okay? So I'm just going to read this. I apologize, but I couldn't put it in any better words. Of course, he wrote the book, so he should be pretty darn good. So it says, search is changing. This is not new, of course. From a certain perspective, it has been on a trajectory of change since day one. But the arc of the trajectory has acquired now a steeper angle and a greater velocity to match the web, because it's growing rapidly. In truth, search can no more be considered independent of the web than the web can work without search. This symbiotic relationship brings forth all sorts of issues because it becomes part of a traditional push and pull where the web, represented by those who actively work on it, wants to push all the wrong things. That's where the tricks, I think, come in. While search wants to pull in everything. When everything is pulled into the web, the struggle changes from one of being indexing information to one of classifying it correctly. And this is probably where they spend most of their time, is classifying information correctly. Because the web grows at such a prodigious rate, any kind of classification has to be machine-driven and scalable, and there are only two possible ways this can happen. A, with human assistance, or B, without. And so, as online business people, when somebody comes to us and you're getting 70 people a week for traffic, and somebody says, hey, I can get you up to, 250, and it's only going to cost you this. It sounds so tempting, it sounds so good to do that, but it may be crossing that line. And it may cause you to be slapped or shut down, which is kind of the same thing. So with this, just keep in mind it's constantly changing. That's the biggest part I want to put in there about the algorithms. Don't let them freak you out that, oh my God, the algorithm's coming. Because there's another update on the horizon. I just read about it 2 days ago. There's another one coming. And it's only going to make those playing by the rules with content marketing as you're doing, it's only going to make you better. It's only going to make you easier to find because they're looking for that best answer. Okay? So I'm going to keep coming to that best answer quite a bit. Here's the complicated thing. I say it's like the fastest growing small town you can imagine, and it needs constant changing to keep up with growing demands. Now what do I mean by that? Let's imagine you move to a little town, and when you first move there, Holly, there's not even a light. It's you, there's a little store, and maybe 50 people live there, right? But then it grows to 100. It's doubled in size. Well, now you might put a stop sign up. And we've all seen this in our areas where we live. All of a sudden you go, why are they putting a light up, man? It was so easy just to get through. Now there's a light. Then there's a second light. Then and then they're tearing up the median. They're doing all this stuff to try to make growth more doable, more scalable. And then we talked about that a little bit in that thing. It's totally scalable, either by per people or without. So it's growing so fast that it was really done by us, our activity on the web, of figuring out, hey, I noticed I did this, now all of a sudden I get seen. I'll give you one specific example. Andrew, Andrew, tell me, maybe 2 months ago you suggested putting a common term on all of our videos. Like, because you go to YouTube and when the video ends, it puts up like type of material or relevant or related terms or videos. Well, if you put in, let's say for instance now it comes up with what, 12? I think 12, sometimes 10 to 12 different results, okay? But if all of a sudden, let's say for instance we're creating videos at the rate we are, that every one of our videos we put a common term in our tags that is unique only to us, then they're saying, hey, there's other related material. All of a sudden we dominate that whole thing. Well, wouldn't that be kind of neat? That all of a sudden the only thing that shows up for you, Linda, is everything that you do. What would that do for you if that were the case?
Well, that's huge because even on my website I have a YouTube video, and at the end of that little box, all these other options come up that someone can get distracted.
You can turn that off.
Can you?
Yeah, you bet.
I need to turn that off. But would you trademark that term too?
No.
So nobody else would,
I mean, what Jeff's talking about is
Starting to jump on
what
you.
Jeff's talking about is something that's really ridiculous that no one else would even type in.
okay.
So it might be a series of numbers and letters that make no sense because it becomes a tag
Oh,
in the video. So what it does is YouTube look and say, what else was related to this video? Oh, this tag is exactly the same as these other ones. Must be the same, so they put all your videos on the right hand side.
Okay.
Now here's the cool part about that. That sounds tricky, right? Like, oh, I never heard of that. But YouTube recommends it. It's in their playbook. So it's like, I'm playing by the rules. But if you didn't know that, and you're getting all these irrelevant showing up videos after your video plays, and you didn't know that, you're thinking I'm doing something tricky. This is what they recommend. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So you're saying you put the same keywords on different YouTube videos?
Yeah, let's say for instance, every video you make, each one has its own topic. And let's just for the heck of it, let's say it's one about teaching 7-year-olds, okay? And then you put relevant terms to that. But then you also put one little code in there. And let's just make it easy. 1, 2, 3, ABC.
Yeah.
And you put it in your tags,
Right.
okay? Then you make another one, or you make a series of them. Every one you put relevant terms in there for that video, but you also add, was it ABC 1, 2, 3?
Yeah.
And you put that in every one of them. So when now the algorithm searches for relevant videos or related videos, they say, oh, there's that same term.
But wouldn't each video compete with each other?
They're all
Because
yours.
it's the same term?
It
It's
would,
still gonna point to you.
yeah, it would first pull up that first relevant video, but then the other ones would fill in those 9 blanks or along the side. It would start showing those up, those videos. Okay? Does that make sense, everyone? So figure out something going, I'm going to put a unique term. Now, can you do this besides in video? Of course you can. Put it on all your blog posts. Put it on all your content marketing. Figure out something, because then when you're searching on the web and it pulls up a video, but you have 10 blog posts, text, they're going to start showing up too, because that's relevant to that same topic. Okay? So, let's keep going. So, this is interesting. Now, let's go back to that little town as an example. Let's say you live in a town of 9,800 people in 1998. But just a few years later, 5 short years later, it's almost 6 billion people living in that same small town. Yeah.
It must be pretty little.
Well, it's taken up a lot of space now. They're stacking them. But here's the deal. This is how many people were using Google on a daily basis. This is how many search queries there were on Google in 1998 every day. This is how many there are now in 2013. They didn't have 2014 yet. Every day. Do you think there needed to be some changes made to accommodate that growth? And they're becoming more intuitive because, again, they want to result the best what? Answer. They want to give you the best answer because they don't want you to say, I'm not going to Google anymore. I'm going to go to Bing because Google keeps goofing me up. They take me over to some wormhole over here. And that's not what I'm looking for. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to put that because it is so amazing in 5 years what's happened. These are every day, gang, what's happening. How many people are searching every day?
I wanted to add, there's a socio-dynamic issue to this, is that people who have been using the internet since '98 and before have gotten smarter.
Yeah.
Okay? And they've gotten more savvy. And then the younger people who grew up with the internet just take it for granted and they moved on. And they're already savvy. It was like implanted in their brains. So what we see are people who know exactly what they're looking for, and they can scan search results on Google page 1 and page 2. They may not even go past Google page 1, and they can scan it through, and they can go speed reading. They can go and they can look exactly for the search results, which are usually bolded in Google search results, and find exactly what they're looking for and go right to it. So speed is a big part of it.
Totally.
And the second component is ADD.
Yes.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, I didn't believe that the newer generation really had this intuitiveness. It's like, it's generationally, it's grown in them. But I went to the hospital the other day, and actually I watched a new birth. That kid came out with an iPhone in his hand. It was amazing. That's not true, by the way. Okay, so here's the complicated. Everyone, and I say, okay, not everyone is trying to outthink the system for viewers, traffic, and money. I mean, at the end of the day, it's become our online retail store. Whatever we're selling, services or product, yes? So we're trying to say, hey, what do we do to get the most viewers? Because we know viewers, traffic could result in money. So what are we doing? So everybody's out there trying to outthink this. And it really is not that complicated. And thank God, because again, I'm a kid from West Texas. They use backlinks, white hat versus black hat, hits, time on a page, time on a website, views. I mean, it all becomes mind-boggling. And we talk about analytics in here, and I'm not going to go into that. These are all important, but not as important as you might think. Okay? So that's a complicated side. My definition of search, as I've already talked about, is answering questions or queries with the very best possible solutions. Right? I mean, if I come to you and I know you are perceived as an expert and you give me good advice, every time I have something surrounding that, I'm going to come to you because you're giving me the very best possible solution. See, there was a time as an example where it was like, well, we don't want to give them everything because then why would they come back? Now it's, if we don't give them everything, they'll go find it and I'll be forgotten. Right? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So when we walk in with a client and they say, well, yeah, I'm uncomfortable making a video and telling them everything, then why would they come to me? And we say that because there's a cajillion other people out there that will give them everything. You better be the best at it and give them everything. And let them know that there is more, right? So if you're trying to hold something back, it's hurting you, okay? I really believe that. It's hurting you because that's one of the things. We are truly well into the information age. Is there anything that you've ever tried to put in Google that stumped it? No. There's nothing. I mean, you can put anything in there and someone has something to say, yes, I have an answer for that. So if you just hold back, you'll be blown away. And you'll wonder, God, why people aren't coming to me? I would share the rest of it. You better share it all now. Okay? Giving the very best of what you have to offer without games, trickery, or I could say tomfoolery. Just give it to them. Just like we do here. We don't, I mean, you've been to many of our programs, right? Do we ever hold back? No, but you keep coming back, right? Except today you don't get to leave unless you leave $10 at the door. No, I'm just kidding, okay? So that seems a little more simple. So what can you do? This is the simple stuff. This is I'm going to say is a proven step-by-step. And it's going to be so simple. First of all, your headline. Write headlines that match the content or are supported by the content. See, this is where Google will say, this is irrelevant. Because if you write a thing and, hey, how to lose weight in 10 days, and then in your content it shows it's going to take 6 months, doesn't match up. Doesn't really match up. Or if it does return and you see it, immediately you're going, this isn't what I was looking for. And you discard it. And that's where Google will say, hey, there's some connection there. I'm not going to turn that back anymore because I'm trying to give you the best answers. The body, write content that answers the search, plain and simple, and forget about the advice of keyword stuffing. Make sure your content solves the problem. I've said that before. It's like this, and forgive me for you guys that you've heard this before, but I haven't had enough time to think about new stuff because I just came back from vacation. But if my finger is cut, what am I looking for now? What solution do I need? My finger's cut, it's bleeding. What solution do I need?
You want to stop it?
I don't need stitches, so it's not that bad. Okay?
Bandage?
Bandage.
Yeah.
Right, I need a bandage. Do I care what brand it is, Lee? No, I just want to stop the bleeding. I want you to think, hey, when I put something out there, when I write an article, when I make a video, audio, well, it doesn't matter. What problem am I solving for my ideal client? Right? Not for everyone. You're not trying to talk to everyone. Because there's a saying, and Andrew will tell you, if I'm trying to talk to everyone, no one listens. Find out who your ideal client is and talk to them. Like us, we talk to small business and entrepreneurs. Right? Anybody here not a small business entrepreneur? Right. So it works. Tags. Think of this as breadcrumbs. I wrote this last night before dinner. As breadcrumbs, make it easy to be found. What are those breadcrumbs? As an example, Holly, I'm going to use you because I know your business a little bit, is real estate, right? So hers is not only real estate, but also getting behind the gates of some of those. So you would want to put in terms that when people are searching, what would they search for? Right? So go find out. Go to YouTube and put in those search terms and see what comes back. Have you ever done that? Like you go to, let's say for instance, you go to Google and you say, hey, you know what? I want to see if anybody else makes videos from behind gated communities. So let's say you do that, and all of a sudden you come back and say, wow, there's some videos, not many people are watching them. So you redevise those terms and you say, oh, same kind of video, but now you're getting tens or hundreds of thousands of views. Does that give you a clue? Yeah, what kind of clues would it leave you?
That's what's drawing your people.
Yes, what would it help you do? Think about it, you've pulled that up and now there's the videos that say, yes, this works. Proof of concept, of course,
Get
but
more of it.
Exactly, just repeat and continue.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking for.
how about the headline?
Yeah, the verbiage.
Oh.
How about the headline?
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you put the headline in, you've tested it, if you will, it hasn't cost you a dime. So you put the headline in there and say, nobody's looking for it. Redevise a headline, oh, people like this. We did this with one of our businesses maybe a year and a half ago, and we put up search terms in Google to see if there were any videos made. Not many. Then we went into YouTube, we said, how many views are they getting? Oh my God, people are watching these videos. We took that exact same title and put it on ours. What did we get? Lots of views because people were searching for that answer, right? I provided breadcrumbs that were already proven. I didn't test it, I just went out and checked it by somebody else who was doing it. We provided unique content. Does that make sense? And then we took that exact same answer and it became our headline.
And so that I'm on the right trail, we're coming up with and searching ourselves personally for these tag words, and when we find that they're successful, if they're applicable, we use them on our content.
Exactly. Let's say, for instance, let's just make it simple. Part of our business, our core business, is we help businesses get on the first page of Google organically. So if we put on there how to get on the first page of Google organically, and then we search that on YouTube, and let's just hypothetically, let's say, for instance, we get some videos coming back, but they've got really bad views, 5 views, 12 views, and they've been up there for a long time. But then we put on there how to get to page 1 of Google now. And all of a sudden, now there's as many videos, but now they have tens and hundreds of thousands of views. Guess which headline I'm using? How to get on page 1 of Google now. Because people are already searching for that. That's their common term. And that's where that intuitiveness comes in. We're taking on that role of Google of, hey, I know this is what you meant, but this is what you said. Why don't we just say what we mean? And that's the way to test it. Does that make sense? Okay? So that's what tags are. Now, there's 3 different types of tags. I'm only going to talk about 2 because I forgot the third one. It's not as important. No, I'm just kidding. So first one is one-word terms. So think about your business. Real estate. I know it's 2 words, but it's, okay? Gated. Private. Communities. Those may be that. Singular. You're putting those 1 words in there. And that's what you're seeing when you said, hey, they're looking at that and saying, hey, I see those words in the description, or I see the words in there. They're single words. But then you can combine them keyword phrases and say, behind gated communities, right? And now you're stringing them together. And all that does is it helps refine the search even tighter. So that when people are searching, and you think about this, when you're searching and you're doing that quick scan, are you looking for some of the words to show up in the description, or are you looking for that phrase to show up because now it's more specific? You're looking for that phrase. Okay? Because if I just say, hey, private, it could be private planes, it could be private nursing, I mean, it could be all kinds of stuff. But it says, behind private gated communities. That may be a phrase you put in there. Does that make sense? Okay? Description. This is just as, if not more important, than actually the body of your information, because this is what's going to show up in the search. You say there's a title and then there's a little bit of a description there. That's what's going to show up. And I liken it to say, hey, that's that little part of the book that pre-sells us. That on the jacket, it tells us a little bit about the story. And either we buy it from that or we move on. So you need to think, hey, it sells the book. Make sure your description sells your book. So if you're putting stuff up there that you're going, would that turn me on? Would that make me take the next step? No. Redo it. What would? Don't get crazy with it as far as saying something that's not accurate or true, but make sure it's that power selling piece. Because you really sometimes you have seconds and you have one shot. They're not coming back, right? Does that make sense?
Can you explain the difference between tags and keywords?
Tags and keywords. In this case, I'm using it. I'm going to use them together, the same, a tag and a keyword, mainly because I work in video. So my tags and keywords are all going in there the same.
Orientation is,
Yeah. Andrew, you want to talk about that difference between tags and keywords?
No, I think it can be intertwined. When
Yeah.
you're using them in things like YouTube and stuff like that, your keywords, you can use keywords inside descriptions, but YouTube has a specific space for what they call tags, which essentially are keywords, but they like to call it tags just to differentiate between the two.
Yeah.
for like WordPress sites, that says tags, but those are keywords.
Same thing.
Right.
Yeah, same thing. And if YouTube, YouTube will let you put 500 characters in their tags. Okay, so you want to be very, you just want to start putting random stuff in there. You want to think, hey, what are people looking for? That's where you go back and check other YouTube videos, right? And say, hey, what are they putting in there? Take a look at their description. That's a clue. I would sometimes say, hey, that description looks really good and it's working. I'm just going to put it on my video because it's relevant. There's no misleading information in their description that wouldn't be in mine. Does that make sense? It's almost like
you don't see their tags anymore on YouTube.
No. I'm just saying their description.
Are you guys going to get into keyword search and Google AdWords keyword tools? Is that something you're going to talk about today, or?
A little bit, not really in depth today. No, we do. And if you'd like more about that, we actually have a program called DTI that will take you deep. Okay, and we'll have Andrew talk a little bit about that towards the end. Okay, DTI. Okay, you have to own a black belt for that. So complicated or simple, it's up to you. How are you going to do it? Complicated or simple? Complicated is, we had two different people say, hey, it didn't seem that hard, right? And then it's like, well, it's pretty complicated. Depends on what you're doing. For us, here's the simple part. Make content that answers solutions. Be genuine, be passionate, and share that. Because here's the thing. I likened it to speeding before. Speeding is complicated. I think complicated because you're always trying to push that envelope. And sometimes we get outside that envelope when all of a sudden it changes. We saw it at the beginning of the year when all of a sudden we had people were making really high traffic and they were playing at this level, and then algorithms changed and all of a sudden it dropped off. And they had to spend tens, hundreds, millions of dollars to get back to where if they had just played simple, they would have never lost that. Because Google says, hey, if you're creating good content and it's solving problems and you're connecting the dots, you're leaving the right breadcrumbs, I'm good with that. Keep doing it because you're the type of people we're looking for. Yes, sir.
Well, I just want to make a comment that, complicated or simple and what we were just talking about. It seems like the terminology is constantly changing. Like someone asked a minute ago, what's the difference between keywords and tags? And Andrew said, well, they're basically the same thing. And they used to be called programs, now they're called apps. And it seems like the terminology is constantly changing. And so for me, I'm technologically challenged.
Well, let's.
And so it seems like it's always evolving, the terminology is always changing, and so it seems like I just get used to a term, and then all of a sudden they come up with a new one. And so for me, it's like a constant learning curve. I used to have a Windows XP, and just as soon as I get used to Windows XP and how that whole operating system works, boom, I go out and I get a brand new laptop. It's got Windows 8, and Windows 8 is just a straight up nightmare.
Yeah.
And so that learning curve for me is a long and hard one. And I know as soon as I get used to Windows 8 and figure that out, they're going to come out with another one,
Well, they are.
and it's going to be a whole new learning process again.
Yeah.
And so that's where I am having my biggest problem with our technology and where it's going is like the terminology is constantly changing. Everything is constantly evolving, and It seems like, the kids, they're born, like you say, they're pretty much born with an iPad in their hand.
Right.
And, for me, I'm constantly playing catch-up, it seems like.
Well, and that is, first of all, beautifully put, because it is constantly changing. You think it was this and tomorrow it's this. Let me give you an example about this small town example. When you were first there, it was the corner because there were no stop signs. And that's where you met on the corner. Then it's like, hey, let's meet at the stop sign. Then it's, you go to the light and take a right. Still the same, right? Except now we refer to it differently, but it means exactly the same. Once you understand that and say, hey, don't let that throw you off your game. Just say, it's exactly the same. It's the same corner it was when I was a kid and there were only 9,800 people living in town. Now there's 6 billion people living in town. It's still the same corner, except now it's a flashing, it's not a flashing light, it's a lighted signal, and I take a right there. It's the same corner. Because I've been down that same road, I'm like, crap, I just got used to keywords, now they call it tags. What is it? It's the same thing.
All right, it's the same thing, but they,
So what's
put
the
a different
purpose
term
of keep
to
on
it.
changing the terminology?
I think the terminology changes because of different companies. Usually,
Okay.
the one company will keep their terminology, like one company will use keywords, and then another company might say, well, we can't use keywords because Google's using it, so let's call it tags or meta tags or metadata. So
Okay.
it's just a matter of different companies choosing their words, and just because they want to be different, they choose different words.
Okay.
So there's not much you can do about it.
right, yeah, I wish it would become more standardized so that everybody is on the same page and knows exactly what they're talking about.
Good luck.
You know?
Yeah.
That'd be, that'd be
I mean,
world
because-
peace.
It's just like in retail, they're always having to move the merchandise around, and sometimes I get sick of that because I'll go into Costco or I'll go into Sam's, and I really like to know if I need a certain thing that I always buy, I want to go right there and get some more of it.
Right.
But they're being creative
Right, constantly
and
changing,
moving it
rearranging the
around all
store,
the
yeah.
time.
They need to spend more time in
Exactly.
their store.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you're just
I
a
know,
hunter
we have a
and you
reason
gather
we're
and
gonna
get
do
out,
it.
right?
Just like when they put certain stuff on a certain shelf, it's better to look below and above because you can find the same type of product for less money.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I put up there complicated and simple. I said the difference. Complicated is like always driving too fast. I already said that. Simple, just doing the right thing. Deliver value first. And I heard this morning. I don't know how many of you listened to Napoleon Hill or read his books, things like that. And I was given a gift by Amy. And I was listening this morning. He said, it goes back to the same thing Zig Ziglar said forever. If you help enough other people get what they want first, you'll have all you want in life. So if your content is always saying, this is helping my ideal client get what they want first, they will come to your door. They'll beat it down. You cannot keep them away. And by giving them everything you have, it doesn't mean you have nothing to give. Because there's been times, maybe you do or do not know, part of my background is in golf. And we would give free golf clinics. And it'd be just like this, except we give 100% of it. And then you'd sign up for lessons. And you come to the lessons, you might say in your head, Jesus, this is what I learned in a free clinic. We didn't hold anything back, except now it's just one-on-one, right? Now it's specialized with your business, your specific swing. But the same stuff is there. So if all of a sudden I kept holding back, I think it's one of those things you might think, it seemed pretty good, but I wonder what he's holding back. What else is there? Is he really telling me all there is, or is she really telling me all there is? Is she hiding the good stuff in the back? I don't want to know that. Remember a time if you drink wine or whatever, they'd have the good wine underneath the counter and they'd save it for their ideal customers. Now it's out where everybody can have it, right? Because that trick is out. We already knew that. Hey, what do you got? What are you hiding under there? Okay? I want the good stuff. And that's really it. I mean, that to me is simply SEO. Just doing your very best. Whoops. Let's just... Oh, that's too complicated for me. Let's just keep it simple.
How appropriate when you're saying doing your very best.
So, questions or comments about that? Was it too simple, too high level, or it's like, crap, this is stuff we use every day, gang.
That was very interesting.
It's templated. When we build videos, and we've done now probably close to 3,000 videos in the last 2 years, this is what we use. If we had to rethink it every time, we've done video 10 instead of 3,000. We're about ready to embark on a new project with Andrew, and we're going to produce content at a very high rate of speed. But we sat down first And we plan it all out, and it's templated. It's step by step by step, and we know now we've got something pretty exciting this morning. I don't think we're really going to share that this morning. It's probably still a little raw, but we might. I'm going to hold back. No, I'm just kidding. That is going to, there's a terminology out there called hacking. Has anybody heard of that?
Sure.
Hacking, right? Well, this is going to be I think a potentially major traffic hacking I haven't seen anybody use. Have you?
Yeah,
You're testing right now? How's it working?
Oh, not yet.
That's scary.
It's still around.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
As far as, it's relevant to this PowerPoint. As far as, let's talk about B2B marketing, that's the area that I'm in for clients. So there's two realms of thought here, or you can do both, but clients have budgets to usually do one or the other. So you can do rapid blogging, which is really not so much blogging for content, but blogging for keywords where there's minimal content, so that you get your keywords up on Google search. So it's relevant enough, but you're not writing gigantic essays or white papers. Then there's rapid video blogging, where you're set up to do, let's say like Vine videos, let's say 3-second videos, or a lot of people just can't sit through a 5-minute video, so let's say a 1-minute video. But you can do those 3 or 4 times a week. So all of a sudden you have this huge content base that's all keyworded. What gives you the better bang for the buck? Blogs or video? What I call it is rapid video blogging versus rapid blogging,
Yeah.
content blogging.
I'm gonna give you an example of this, and hopefully it'll make sense. I've only had 1 cup of coffee. Let's say I went to Ace Hardware, and I could either go to Ace Hardware, or I could go to a big box like a Home Depot. And obviously, when I go to my local Ace Hardware for convenience, and I go in there thinking they have all I need, right? But I go in there, they constantly don't have what I need. They have kinda, but it's not exactly. It's a little more expensive if I'm paying for the convenience. I'm okay with that if they have what I need, but they don't. So then I get in my car and I drive over to Home Depot because they have exactly what I need. They have a lot of choice. I think of what you described as rapid keyword blogging as that. You're attracting me to your store, you're attracting me to your content, and then when I get in there going, first of all, it's like reading Latin. I don't even know if it's answering my question. There's a lot of keywords in there that you've written it just for the search engines. I'm going to be very frank. Stop that. Because you're turning me off. When I say me, your potential client. We're smart in that. Our hype button is on high alert. Yes or yes. Okay, so that really doesn't work anymore. It'll get you, I'm going to call it one-time false traffic, but they're not coming back.
Let me be more specific. I have a client where we do recipes.
Uh-huh.
It's a big food manufacturer, and the more recipes we can put up, like on not only on blogs, but we can cross-pollinate to the other platforms such as Pinterest.
Good.
Which is a great place to put recipes.
Totally.
So we've got great original content. We have recipes, some of it's shared content with food bloggers. So we keep expanding this network. But the client says, okay, we want to do like 10 recipes, blogs a week. So those are complete blogs with images, with recipes, with links, with tags or / keywords on a WordPress website. So now they're talking about, we have a kitchen, we have video equipment, now we want to do the recipes like Williams-Sonoma. You go on their website, almost everything that they sell is a little video.
Yeah.
Okay, they're incredible. They're really short, in like 30 seconds or 1 minute. That counts because those little videos also have the same keywords. So all of it's relevant, there's just more.
Yeah.
So is that a strategy to where you can put your money?
There's nothing wrong with more as long as it's more value. It's relevant and it's valuable. It's not just, it's almost like going to the gym. Or I'll use this, I have a client in golf. He's a dear friend of mine. We've been together now for like 16 years. And when he goes to practice, it's not like this, he's chipping. He's doing it because he thinks the activity will make him better. He's not even examining, hey, how was that? Do I need to adjust? Do I need to adjust? And all of a sudden now he's practicing after 4 or 5 balls. He has the ideal thing, right? So if you're doing it for, is this ideal for my client is answering questions? Hallelujah. I'd say keep going. I move away from it. I say this to everyone, move away from, hey, I'm just making content that is stuffed with keywords that I think Google will find and bring traffic to me. Stop me if I'm wrong, Andrew, that is a false sense of security. You're bringing people to your restaurant because they think you serve lobster and you serve only chicken. You're going to they're going to be upset. They're not going to spend money with you, and worse yet, this is the most powerful way to get your message out, word of mouth advertising. They're going to tell all their friends, hey, don't go to Sam's because it says Sam's Sushi, but he only sells chicken. I don't get that, right? So make sure what you're doing, and it sounds very good, if it's producing content that says Holly wants to watch that because she's a food enthusiast. Is that more specific? Is that?
Yeah, I guess the answer I was looking for was, what have you found that's better if you had to choose?
Which one's faster? Which one gets you more bang for your buck?
Blogging,
video
like
marketing.
traditional blogging, or you're in the video, which I'm interested in.
Video does better.
Yeah, video does better.
Pictures.
Yeah.
You know, with the video though, you can do both. Like you grab your video, stick it into your blog, so you've got that video in your blog, and you can grab your blog content, written stuff, and put it into the description of your video.
Description.
So you're covering both options.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on your market though. If you've got a video, let's say it's cooking. If I'm looking at a recipe, I'd rather read a recipe. Personally, I'd rather read a recipe as I'm cooking, because I cook every day. I do, but I'd rather read a recipe. Some people want to watch a video on how to make that particular thing. So it's going to depend on what does your reader want, and by doing both, you're covering both modalities.
Well, millennials, Gen X, Gen Y everybody's moving toward visuals,
Yeah.
like infographics, very quick videos. So, we keep seeing that, and my generation was all about the newspaper, which is sort of.
But don't discount the big. There's a massive market for audio stuff too now, because video, you can't do video when you're doing certain activities like driving or at a gym on a treadmill and stuff like that. So there's also the audio component that people want to listen to, or they can read in certain places where they can't watch videos too.
Have you been over to the Lexus dealer in Cathedral City to look to what's inside of that car? It's
No.
basically an iPad.
Right, so this is
And it
exactly
gets
my
the
point.
internet.
In 2015, I heard this 2 days ago, in 2015, every car that's manufactured will have the onboard iTunes dashboard.
Yeah.
So podcasts are becoming massive, bigger than ever, because now people can choose what they want to listen to from
Yes.
podcasts.
Yeah.
So don't discount that side of things too, but what you want to do is cover the modalities of everyone as much as you can.
So my last comment, since this is not my group, but is it because Google owns YouTube that it favors YouTube?
Yeah,
Quite frankly, sure. And they own Google Plus too. So if you
any
use
business
them-
would do the same. And that's part of why they're going to become a behemoth. Well, they already are, but it's only going to get bigger, especially with all of their platforms.
That's why, quite frankly, for us, we're only really interested in what Google returns for us, using everything we've talked about. If it shows up on Bing, it's when you start looking at those search engines, it's YouTube, Facebook, it's Google, Facebook, and YouTube, and 2 and 3 are constantly back and forth, right? Except now we notice on video, and this is on another subject, but it's relevant here, is video now online is being watched more than regular television, cable television. So if you're not in video, you should be, some way. It doesn't mean you have to be in front of the camera, right? You can create videos without ever being in front of the camera.
And aren't you teaching a class this weekend?
We are. How about that? So, as Andrew said, we do both. And I'm gonna kind of dovetail a little bit into what we're doing right now, because you talked about the different modalities. I mean, we are launching a pretty intense program right now that covers audio, video, written, membership. I mean, it covers all those things, because we know there are certain people out there. As an example, Lee, how would you best consume content?
Depends on the subject.
Okay, well, let's say your favorite subject.
Right now,
Keep it
it's
clean
consumer
now.
finding like lesson plans, so I guess it's just a lot of blog posts or ready-made PDFs, and they have lesson plans that's downloadable. That would be the best.
Perfect, okay. So if she's my ideal client, I put video out, I'm turning her off. That's not her ideal mode, right? How about yours?
I do audio, video, and PDF.
Okay, and so you like that. So if I'm speaking to her, I better give her a little of both, a video with a downloadable PDF. Combination, there's that combination. How about for you? How do you consume?
Pretty much, I would be encompassing all of them, because some things I prefer to watch a video, other things I like to be able to read it, and to be able to come back later, have it there later, to be able to refer to, and sometimes just talking to somebody like, one-on-one
Yeah.
to you.
So I don't think one is ideally better than the other until your ideal customer says it is, right? I read this morning, how many have you heard of Neil Patel, Kissmetrics, okay, and also Sprout. Well, he came out this morning, I was reading a blog post he just released this morning, he said infographics, his big thing has been infographics. And he's created I think he said 270 infographics since he began. And he started noticing that his traffic is falling off. Now, let me put that in context. His traffic fell off from like when he first started, in a very short period of time, he got what was it? Hundreds of thousands of people coming there and becoming members of his site, subscribing to his site. Now it's dropped off, it's only 40,000. Every time he puts one out, he gets 40,000 views and 22,000 subscribers and likes. So he says it's dropped off. But is it going to be something he's going to stop doing? No. But he says when he writes a blog post, consistently it outpaces his infographic by an average of 23%. So it's not one or the other, it's a combination of both. Question?
No, I'm just saying now it does. It didn't used to with infographics, but the influx of extra infographics across the board, people are becoming more attuned to them and not paying attention as much.
Yeah, it's the me too. Hey, that works, I'm going to jump in there too. Yeah. When are you getting in? Video is still relatively young. Probably in the last 2 years is when people publicly have been able to jump in and start really producing decent quality sound and visual videos. So it's very, very young as far as that's concerned. And we consume a lot of it. Don't put out junk. You'll be seen for that right away and you'll get one shot, gang. One shot. Okay? So, again, complicated, like always driving too fast and having to constantly watch out for highway patrol. You're a nervous freaking wreck. Every time Google comes out and says, hey, we're gonna announce Panda 9. What's going on? I gotta go back and redo it. No, just do good things. Just do the right stuff and deliver value and you're gonna be fine. That's the simple stuff. I noticed this when I was in Costa Rica for the first time in a long time. We were down there with friends and he was constantly checking in, running his business. And I have to blame Amy because she was gone too, but our systems, we ran seamlessly. That was cool. That was cool. So put that in place. I bet you drip that product out all the time. Don't you just all put it all at one time? You drip it out. Okay? So SEO, it's simply delivering answers to the questions your ideal customer is seeking. Pretty simple, yes? Can you guys do that? Perfect. Any questions, comments, theories, stock tips?
What you're teaching next week?
Next week, what are we teaching next week, Andrew? He's got the computer in front of him. We're teaching another subject next week.
And it's going to be at 7:30 on Tuesday.
Actually, it's next week would be hot seat. And hot seat is a lot of fun. We get up here and we actually, now you bring your business up here and we sit down and say, hey, what are you doing? And we work very hard to give you one specific strategy to take you to that next step that you can take action on. When we first started doing it, we allowed the audience to get involved. All of a sudden you had 9 or 10 different topics and all of a sudden your brain was saying, I don't even know where to start. So we've reeled that in just a little bit and said, this is the one thing we're saying, because we do this every day. Andrew's an expert, I'm just happy to be here. And we say, this is what you could get your best bang for your buck with. If you're interested, yes, sir.
So I was at a mastermind last weekend where there was 43 people there. They all paid $1,000 to be there. And the main context of the weekend was this hot seat. So someone got up there and people spoke about their business. So if you don't want to pay $1,000, pay $5 and get free donuts in coffee.
Right. Did you guys watch our little video, by the way, about today's topic? You didn't watch that?
I did.
It's okay, we're glad you're here anyway. You should go back and watch it, it's kind of funny. Andrew's very funny.
On your drip campaign, you just said drip campaign, are you talking about using constant contact or what?
You
Which
could.
one is for that?
Yeah, the term dripping content. When I first saw it, I said, dripping content, what the heck is that? That's simply saying, hey, you can write all these posts. Like say, for instance, if you said, I'm going to take one day a week and I'm going to write 3 posts, but I don't want them all to come out at the same time. So you go into your calendar and say, I want it to come out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and this is the time of day I want it to come out. And then you walk away.
But wait a minute, you go where?
You'll put it into your either Constant Contact, or you put it on your website. When you put a blog on your website, there's usually a portion somewhere on that blog post, that specific blog post that you're putting that in on.
I had not done that, so.
Okay. If it's a WordPress site, it'll be on the right side, and it'll say, how do you want to do it? Public, private, when do you want it to come out? You want to password protect it, the whole thing. So it gives you a lot of different options. But the beautiful thing about that is you can drip that content out, or you deliver it on demand, right? So for us, as an example, we're launching this, we're leaving today, and we're probably going to do 20 to 40 interviews in the next 2 days of people that are leaders in their industry. And we're going to drip that out over 3 a week. So, and then in the next 4 or 5 weeks, we'll do enough that will basically take care of that for a year. And then we're done with it. It's dripping out automatically. We could be here and it's releasing that new content. Like, how do they do that? That's how we do it. Okay. Yes, sir.
Just, I can't make next weekends on the video, and I've done 0 video.
Okay.
Is there, on YouTube, are there plenty of like mundane, little simple, this is how you get started for your very first video on your Android, 2 posts?
Sure.
Okay.
There's plenty of that kind of stuff.
And is there, I agree, a 5-minute, when I see a 5-minute video, I'm kind of like, I got things to do. It's weird that 5 minutes is so important. But a 30-minute or a 1-minute video, I'll sit and donate my time to watch that. Is there a time that is more popular, or is it the content that determines what people are willing to?
The answer is yes and yes. Here's the thing that I've found with our research is this. If I'm interrupting your day, I better keep it short, because I know your attention span is short, and I better give you my best shot at the very beginning. I'm not spending the first 4 or 5 seconds introducing who I am, how I decide on this shirt. No, I'm immediately answering that question. It's like if I come upon an accident and somebody's bleeding, I'm not going to tell them who I am and how I got. I'm going to try to stop the bleeding, right? Same thing with your video. But if all of a sudden you're searching for an answer and you come to me and it's an important topic, I don't think time is as critical. I'll give you a specific example. While we're down in Costa Rica, because I didn't go to those 2 classes a day of yoga, I created a video for them. It was 5 minutes and 14 seconds. No one had a problem watching that. They were like, it's over. Because, see, that was something I want to say. Thank you so much for coming. And so I think you have to look at it and say, am I using it to attract a client, or am I using it to fill that gap, that content? If it's content, we'll look at that. As an example, we had somebody in here about a year ago that was talking about content marketing. They said the ideal blog post is 300 to 500 words. That is false. The highest read blog posts are up around 2,200 words. Why? I don't know. They just are. That's the facts. But, and this is a big but, what is your ideal client's attention span?
Yeah.
Write to your ideal client attention span. Don't write for find out what your numbers are. Our ideal client is about 3 minutes or less for part of our videos. Our other ideal clients are about 30 minutes.
I want to tell you, his class is excellent.
Oh, thank you.
You need to go.
Yeah.
Rather than just learn on YouTube, you need to go. Because he takes you through everything, plus the editing.
Well, if he can't make one of them,
Well, I'm
they'll be
saying
doing it
of
again.
course you can.
They'll be doing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will be more expensive the next time. So
Oh, you're so bad.
Yeah, now that I know.
And you said it'd be twice the
I don't think
price
he's lying.
and half the information. So anyway, any more questions? Andrew, want to tell us a little bit about what we're doing here real quick? About what's coming up?
So next, in a couple of weeks' time, I'm also doing a day course for paid advertising too. So if you're using paid ads, or you want to find out how to use paid ads, whether it's Facebook ads, Google AdWords, Twitter ads, we're going to do it's a 2-day course for 4 hours a day on a Saturday, I think October 4th or October 11th. It'll be right here in this room. You need to bring a laptop, not an iPad, because we need to use some functionality with the laptop, so you need to bring a laptop if you want to come along to that. And you'll walk out with ads already created for your business that day, so by day 1. So with a bit of luck, you'll make some money in that week and pay for the whole thing by week 2.
And what's the cost?
$295.
Just to give you a little tip on that, we're using some of the stuff Andrew's talking about with our golf videos to attract people. or we do it on Facebook, and it now is, what was the term, Amy, with Facebook about our golf video? It was most desired to watch or something like that? It was, what's the term, Andrew, when there's a video out there that we should watch, or there's content we should look at?
Recommended?
I think it was most recommended. And our return on that on Facebook, and I don't want to steal thunder because we'll forget about that in a while, but it was about 1 to 3% is your click-through rate for people coming to watch your content when you put an ad out there.
Which is big.
Which is big. Amy, what did it get up to? 15, 16%? 17%. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff. So all of a sudden now when you have, if you had 100 people coming and all of a sudden you only had 1 or 2% taking the action versus 17%. 17% may pay your mortgage. 1 or 2% might buy you lunch. So it's important to be here, and really, if that's interested you, that paid traffic is very, very important. Gabe, thank you very much.